All right, without further ado, let's kick off today's webinar, The Art of Zero-Touch Deployments. My name is Jim Grandbois, and I'll be taking you through today's session. Here, I have an agenda to review quickly. We'll start off by talking a little bit about who Jamf is and what we do. We'll dive into an overview of the deployment programs Apple has in place to help you. We will talk through some of the benefits of a zero-touch deployment. We'll also spend some time taking a look at what this looks like on macOS and iOS. And we'll get you set up with some next steps to help make a zero-touch deployment happen in your organization. All right, so to kick it off, we'll start with a little bit about Jamf. Our mission at Jamf is to help organizations succeed with Apple. Since our founding over 17 years ago, Jamf has grown from solving market problems with a single product, the Casper Suite, to bringing a full portfolio of products to support Apple. Jamf helps connect users to important company resources with ease, manage your Apple hardware no matter the size or type of organization, and protect your company from security threats with the latest technology. Also, Jamf Nation is the most popular community of Apple administrators on the planet. We believe sometimes the greatest value comes from connecting with your peers, which is why Jamf Nation is a free and open forum for everyone, even if you're not a Jamf customer. To check it out, head on over to jamf.com. As of June 2020, Jamf helps more than 40,000 organizations managing 17 million Apple devices and counting. When the enterprise needs the world leader in Apple management, they turn to Jamf. The world's largest banks, tech companies, most valuable brands, and largest companies choose Jamf for Apple management. We also have a history of keeping up with Apple and providing day zero support for their new operating systems and new key management features. Here, you can see our track record, and we're very proud of it. Now let's take a look at Apple's programs and services which you'll need to utilize to make zero-touch deployments a reality. Mobile Device Management, or MDM, works by leveraging Apple's Push Notification Service, or APNS, to maintain a constant connection to your devices. It's the same service which sends notifications from your favorite app to your Apple device. All communication happens back to your MDM server and is kept secure. You can send various commands, apps, and profiles to your managed devices. Again, this is known as MDM. On the Mac, we take it one step further and install an agent for advanced Mac management. We'll take a deeper look at the agent a little later in the webinar. For right now, we're going to focus in on MDM. MDM is Apple's built-in framework for managing their products. You'll build profiles which tell your devices the apps and settings they're supposed to have. These profiles use the Apple Push Notification Service, or APNS, to get to your managed devices. And you can build these profiles, which are simple XML files, right inside Jamf Management Solutions. Apple has this framework in place, and Jamf leverages it to make your Apple device management work. But there's a bit more to the puzzle to unlock all the features Apple has to offer. Which brings us to Apple Business Manager and Apple School Manager. These are free programs from Apple that are the conduit between institutional Apple devices and your purchased apps to your MDM software. It's also the tool which unlocks zero-touch enrollment workflows and allows for apps to be distributed over the air even without using Apple IDs. While managing your roles, apps, and books are important, we cover that in other webinars. Let's take a look specifically at how these programs enable zero-touch deployment. The Devices section of Apple Business or Apple School Manager is where you will add your MDM server tokens, as well as grab another token to enable zero-touch enrollment. It also offers a way to see all your purchased Apple devices listed in one spot. What does this look like inside your MDM? After uploading the MDM server tokens in Apple Business or Apple School Manager, you'll see device details populate right inside your MDM server. In Jamf Pro, assigned devices show under automated enrollment settings. Devices are added to pre-stage enrollment, and default pre-stages can be set by device type. Recently, Apple announced that Apple Business Manager was adding support for federated authentication with Azure Active Directory. It was a huge announcement and something that anyone running Azure will want to take a look at. One of the best parts about leveraging Azure Active Directory with Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager is how you'll be able to simplify managed Apple ID creation, streamlining the setup and login experience for your end users. Apple Business Manager's federated authentication with Azure is a big deal and something we're excited to continue talking about. In the meantime, you can log in to Apple Business Manager to begin testing the integration today. A few key points to know about managed Apple IDs. They are owned by your organization. It will give your employees access to Apple services such as iCloud or Find My iPhone. And it's also required with some new functionality that's built into iOS 13 and macOS Catalina around a BYOD or bring your own device type setup. These Apple IDs could of course be created manually, or with federation with Azure it can be automated. And for schools there are a handful of supported SIS systems which can also handle this automation. When it comes to federation with Apple Business Manager, one thing to know is Azure Active Directory is required at this time. So now, with a bit of knowledge about Apple's deployment programs under our belt, it's time to dig into why you'll love having a zero-touch deployment strategy at your organization. It's no secret that IT is busy. They have to deal with incoming tickets, network issues, provisioning accounts across various services, hardware requests, software deployments, and general help by any user that happens to see them walking through the halls. Add the task of deploying new hardware, plus needing to physically unbox, turn on, image, and configure every new device, and there's virtually no time for anything else. By implementing a zero-touch deployment strategy, you will be able to save IT time and money. Let's take a look at the different enrollment options that macOS and iOS currently offer. For the Mac, you can go old school and image your Macs. However, this could be a time-consuming task and may not be compatible with the newest hardware and software. We'll touch on that a little bit more detail in a moment. You could use some tools included with Jamf to scan your network for existing Macs and deploy an enrollment package. However, this is also time-consuming. It's not always 100% accurate if not every single one of your Macs is on the network and powered on. You could rely on your users to enroll their Macs via a unique URL that Jamf creates, but that doesn't guarantee adoption as we do need someone to do an action on the end device. Or you can use Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager for automatic zero-touch enrollment. And then for iOS, you can use Apple Configurator to manually enroll devices via USB. This is very time-consuming as it does involve tethering via USB devices to a Mac running Apple Configurator to do this process. You could, again, just like on Macs, rely on users to enroll their devices via a unique URL that Jamf creates. However, again, same problems, doesn't guarantee adoption. Or we can use Apple Business Manager and Apple School Manager for automatic zero-touch deployment. Zero-touch via Apple Business Manager and School Manager is the way to enroll Macs, iPads, iPhones, and Apple TVs to save your organization time and preserve that user experience. Let's take a look at how that communication happens. Trusting that Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager will automatically enroll your devices, and Jamf Pro will handle all the device settings and apps, IT can be virtually hands-off with deployment, giving them more time to focus on projects to better your organization. So now we're going to take a look at zero-touch deployments in action. But to start, let's take a look at a more traditional provisioning workflow. Once a customer orders devices, they need to spend time preparing and preloading complex images. Those devices then typically sit in storage where software becomes out of date quickly, maybe before the user even needs it. And finally, when the time is right, we'll go ahead and ship the device to the user with a standard image. However, it now has out-of-date software. It's a bad experience for IT and certainly a bad experience for the end user. Wouldn't it be great if there was an easier way? Apple is easier. With zero-touch deployments using Apple's programs, you can simply order devices from Apple, have them shipped to the end user, and they're ready to go. Well, how does this work? With a little help from Jamf in the middle. We'll take a look at these steps from order to setup. There are 3 basic steps to follow: prepare, purchase, and deploy. To prepare, you'll want to sign up for Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager, depending on what type of organization you are. There's a simple process to link your Apple Business or Apple School Manager account to the Jamf server, and then you'll go ahead and configure the enrollment settings that you want to show up on your zero-touch devices. We'll take a look at a few of those in a moment. Second, we need to buy our hardware. So go ahead and order your Apple hardware. You'll then go into Apple Business Manager and assign those devices to your Jamf server. One quick call out on this section as well. It's important that you're ordering from an Apple authorized reseller that's compatible with Apple Business Manager and Apple School Manager. Most are. If you're unsure, it would be easy to ask your representative, hey, do you support Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager? And then to deploy, we'll simply send the devices to our users. The users unbox them and turn them on. And from there, the devices enroll in your Jamf server and are configured automatically. As I mentioned, here's some of the different settings you're able to some of the different configurations for your enrollment settings, like making MDM mandatory and preventing the removal of it, requiring authentication to complete enrollment, or skipping different standard Apple setup steps, which perhaps aren't relevant to your users. Next, let's take a look from the user's point of view when setting up a new out-of-the-box Mac. Here, the end user selects their country and their language and works to get connected to the internet. Always a good idea to use secure Wi-Fi. The Mac then talks to Apple, and it's told to enroll in your company's Jamf server. The user then creates their local account. In this case, this could be a full admin account or standard account. It's based on what IT specifies. The Mac now talks back to Jamf to apply configurations, security settings, and install any apps that IT defines. And in addition, our self-service app catalog is installed. This is a place where end users can get the tools and resources they need without having to submit a ticket to IT. Now, this is a great experience for the end user and a great experience for IT. Similarly, we'll take a look at that same process on iOS. Again, the user is going to pick their language and country and connect to Wi-Fi. Just like on the Mac, the Apple tells the device to log in to your Jamf server, and now the iPad is getting the proper configuration sent down. In no time at all, the device is at the home screen. The passcode requirement that Jamf has enforced shows up. We'll go ahead and plug that in quick here. And just like some magic, once I enter this in, you're going to notice my background's changed. I have a new app in my dock at the bottom, and Jamf is ready to go. I have my self-service app popping in, and I can get the resources I need to be productive right away. This is what you can do with Zero Touch and Jamf. It's almost like wireless imaging. And speaking of imaging, many of you may have heard that imaging is going away on the Mac. There's a few key points that are important to understand about that statement, and I'd like to touch on them briefly. First off, since the launch of macOS High Sierra, Apple's knowledge base article about installing macOS in an organization has stated the following. Before you install, make sure your Mac is connected to the internet, which allows the installation of both macOS and any firmware updates available for your Mac. They go on to say Apple doesn't recommend or support monolithic system imaging as an installation method. The system image might not include model-specific information, such as firmware updates. So, with that being said, although we do suggest moving away from imaging wherever possible, we are continuing to support imaging workflows in Jamf Pro, of course. The most important note on this is the Mac needs to have updated to the version you're installing previously and received that required firmware update already, meaning this workflow is really for re-imaging when no OS updates are necessary. Even with this ability in place, I think it will be important to begin working on a plan to move to a more modern provisioning method, such as zero touch. So in starting your plan, begin building out some non-imaging workflows. Think about how you'd like your end user experience to be. Use Apple's programs to automate device setup and re-provisioning as much as possible. And think about the time it takes, both active time, where a person is interacting with a device to get it to do what we need it to do, and passive time, the device just doing its thing, installing software or updating or downloading or whatever it may be doing. Now here's an example of how an organization may put this in practice. We've got 3 different use cases that we'll dive into. To start, automatic enrollment for new hardware. This is what we've been talking about an awful lot today, but you can build automatic enrollment settings and groups inside of Jamf. You apply profiles and policies after enrollment. Deploy all the essential software that you get with the Apple programs or the Jamf agent for custom software. And leverage that self-service tool for additional resources that your employees may need. A very streamlined, very clean way to get devices set up and going. For existing hardware that needs reprovisioning, we can use internet recovery when leveraging some of these programs. It's only 5 minutes of active time getting it up and going, and then about 30 minutes to complete the fresh install. Once that's all done, if this is part of Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager, it'll just be ready to set up again via automatic enrollment, or, of course, it can be enrolled manually through user-initiated enrollment. This method generally takes less time and effort than maintaining system imaging. And then, for specific use cases, imaging certainly still comes into play. We hear this a lot from many different regulated industries that would require a full disk erase. You're certainly able to leverage built-in tools from Apple as well as some tools that Jamf has to offer. We just recommend that you keep this as minimal as possible and only really where needed, as keeping in mind future updates may start to make this process a little bit more difficult. All right, so to recap, Jamf Pro lets you accomplish zero-touch deployments, configure your devices, distribute and manage the applications your employees need, get extensive inventory data about your systems, manage security controls, and gives your users a self-service app catalog that you can pre-populate with approved apps and different resources. Jamf Connect is our authentication and identity management product, which can help keep local account credentials in sync during provisioning. And Jamf Protect is our Mac-focused endpoint security solution that will help you get new users online in the most secure manner possible. Jamf Pro can be deployed in the cloud or hosted on-premise. For cloud customers, we have data centers across the globe, and upgrades are handled automatically. We use AWS as our infrastructure.
For customers with additional needs, we have Jamf Premium Cloud, which allows you to choose when you'd like to upgrade, whitelist IPs, and more. For certain environments, we also support on-premise that can run on Linux, Windows, or macOS server.
We've talked an awful lot about Apple's services today, but of course, these are here to help simplify your device enrollments. The Apple Push Notification Service, or APNS, is the trusted communicator between Jamf, Apple, and your hardware, and Apple Business Manager and Apple School Manager are here to help enable zero-touch deployments, procure apps, and more. Of course, Jamf isn't the only software in a company's environment. We realize that and truly believe in this philosophy, Jamf and whatever additional tools are needed to get the job done. On the screen are a few of our third-party integrations. We've spoke a little bit about Active Directory. We are single sign-on, Microsoft SCCM, Intune, Cisco, ServiceNow, and we also have our own API that can be used for more custom integrations. We also have additional services to help ensure success. Our professional services team offers on-location or remote engagements. From a support standpoint, every Jamf Pro subscription includes our standard support package with world-class Apple experts waiting to help across the globe. And we offer certification courses led by a world-class training team. You can become a certified expert in Jamf. Now, as for next steps, I'd certainly love to invite anyone to come visit us on jamf.com. There's a ton of resources here and, of course, some easy ways to get in touch with us. One great resource there is our library of webinars where videos like this are going to be available for you to learn more. And of course, we're nothing without our customers, which is why we're so incredibly proud of the Jamf Nation community. At over 100,000 members strong, this free and open forum is a place for Apple IT-focused individuals to learn from each other and gain best practices.
If you want to see for yourself how Jamf can help you implement a zero-touch deployment strategy further, just scan the QR code to request more information and we'll get in touch. If you have questions, you can also reach out directly to info@jamf.com to get answers.
With that, thank you so much for coming to today's webinar.